We're back.
We accept the challenge of providing dangerous, thought-provoking, and sometimes controversial insights into life's most common topics.
I don't know why I packed the hollow points.
Did you just say hollow points?
Yeah. Probably should have brought a super soaker.
We often get questions that's not pertaining to professional careers. It's more personal lives and all different types of things. But the question I keep getting from men of all ages is, what does a woman want? What do they really want from me? Where should I work? If I want to find a good woman, where should I put my focus? And I've turned to DMX to see what they really want. And I realized he named a lot of names and stuff, you know, Pam, Lakeisha, and all them, but he never answered the question.
I think what
How
confused
can we
me,
answer this?
well, what confused me about the DMX situation, I was kind of in line with what I thought women wanted from him until he added Cisco. And these are two different types of niggas. So it's not the same type of woman that should be wanting DMX and Cisco.
Why not?
So that
why shouldn't it be a universal standard?
Man.
What you think, Cisco, because of the platinum hair?
Yeah, him being pocket size, yes.
His size has something to do with what he provides?
He was too old to be that short. You'll see it. You'll get it.
If you 80, you should be 7 feet tall.
No, the situation was that was confusing that both of them had the same sentiment, but it did lead to the idea of what are women looking for? And obviously, women are not a singular diaspora. So they represent so many different things, and especially Black women, they all over the gambit, and that's a good thing for diversity. But the idea of if you're a man and you want to know how can I prepare myself, so therefore when I do find it a wife, I'm strapped and I'm ready, that's a hard sell because I see inconsistencies in what women think they want. And the term think is very, very pivotal here. And so what we decided to do was reach out randomly to women and ask them, hey, what are the top 5 qualities you think are exhibited by a good man? And then they gave us those answers. And I can say this, 80% of the women gave more than 5 because that's just the nature of women. They do what the hell they want to do. But we took the top 5 things
It's
and
the
we
want
went,
too muches.
man, the want too muches. You ain't lying. And so in the idea of what they think they want, we categorized them scientifically because we nerds, you know, at the core, and said, okay, here are the women in the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s who we collected information from. And here's a subset of the things that they said they wanted. And then we did almost like a Venn diagram and crossed over the things that they had in common. But what we thought was going to be a simple, these are the top 5, it became very, very different, very, very desperate in the idea of what women find to be that one smoking gun or that one singular quality, especially through the ages of these women. And not all of them were single, not all of them were married. It was a good hodgepodge of different opinions. But in the idea of what women wanted, it was all over the place. So what we're doing today is we are going to go through the list that we were able to pull together. Keep in mind, these is random women from different states, different, obviously different ages, different education levels, different experiences in love. Like they was just asked questions and they gave their responses. We put them on paper and that's how it all played out. But what we wanted to do was bring a female perspective or two from a panel type situation to help us identify or interpret what these women are trying to say when they're talking about a good man. Because the one thing that historically has happened is ain't no good men out here. They all married and gay, all these other, stereotypes that exist that make it hard on men. And women think it's just hard to find a good one. Well, damn, imagine if you a good one trying to stay a good one and you don't know how to present yourself or how to, position your situation to be successful. So to hopefully by the end of this, you'll get our points on what women think they want in a good man, and you'll be able to discern what you want in a good man. Therefore, you can start projecting that and giving that off. Or if you a dude, you can start preparing yourself for all of this confusion. So
did you say that they were married and gay?
No, that's what they say. They say ain't no. Help me with the saying, ladies. What is the saying about ain't no good
They
men out here?
they're either married or gay.
Okay. Oh, he had the and in there. I get what you did.
Hmm.
Now, that's what you said. I had
Oh,
to.
damn, my bad.
I couldn't move on until we
Okay,
cleared that
you're
up.
right. I don't stand often, but when I do, I stand corrected. So
I think I was
cool.
gonna be Magic Johnson's son.
No, man, stop this.
Oh,
So,
yes.
so what we'll do is I want to start off. I think the best way to go is to first start off with the end results, and then we'll go in reverse order to talk about which woman gave which inputs that led to the end results. So, ladies, if you don't mind, I'd like to talk to you about the top 5 things that came out of our study. And we had over 30 some odd respondents, and they gave their genuine answers. And so the top thing that women said they wanted was honesty based off the statistics. The second thing was loyalty. The third thing was humor or being funny. Fourth was intelligence. And fifth was communication. So, ironically, honorable mention was God fearing and money. So I'm gonna ask y'all, when y'all see this, and I know y'all can see this, here, when y'all see this, which one do you not agree with? Or which one would you, and anybody can go in any order, which one would you have put as would you thought would have been the consensus number 1, 2?
Yeah, we
So
can
if you
start
had a
with.
1, 2 that you thought was a consensus 1, 2, would it be honesty and loyalty? And how are they not the same thing? But that's neither here nor there. I'm gonna let y'all, because y'all women, so y'all.
Can you blow it up a little bit? Because
Yeah, I can. Absolutely.
I
Let me
would
get it
like
up.
to. I want to start with Sean.
Okay. Go
See what her
ahead. Give
top
it a,
two,
okay.
2 or 3, if you got a case
Okay.
of one too muches.
Well, she was gonna do it anyway, because that's the nature of women. You say one thing and they be like, the hell with that. I'm gonna do my thing. All right, let me get to.
So
All right, here we
yeah,
go.
when you went to the bottom, and you said the top 2 out of the 5 that's at the bottom. I'm trying to see it
Yeah,
because I'm looking for my phone.
Uh,
let's go.
First, I would say, would you agree with that top 5?
And I can read them off to you again. And so 1
I
was
see it.
honesty, 2 was loyalty. Okay, cool. What would you have thought would have been before you seen this shit? What would you have thought would have been top 2 things all women should want in a good man?
God fearing would have been 1,
Okay.
and probably because you say I got I'm part dude, so thinking woman would be money. That's what I would have
Money.
thought
So the
would have
2
been the
that didn't
top
make the
2.
top 5 is the shit that you would have. Okay, all
That's
right.
what I
I'm
would
gonna
have
okay. I'm gonna
thought would have
recuse you.
been up there. That's what I
One
would
of
have
these
thought.
kids is doing their own thing. I'm
Don't
telling
say
you.
you ain't lying. Okay. All right,
So
Kendra,
what?
you
I
What
good?
would
does
have
Wait,
thought.
wait,
what?
wait a second.
What?
I need to get a baseline of the top
Yeah.
2s now that we done went this direction. What would you have
Okay.
thought would have been the top 2, Kendra, before you
Money and
saw this?
money and honesty.
Okay, cool. So did obviously it's a significant surprise that money didn't make top 5 to y'all. Was all these women lying?
Yes,
Oh damn. Oh, oh
I think they all
I
lying.
I think that's
wow.
very ironic that they said money and honesty, because the honesty was not in this list. I think they were afraid it was going to go somewhere.
I
Wow.
think honesty probably was not in the list because it's a given. Like you expect a person, man or woman, to be honest. So when you think about givens, you don't think about it as, it's almost like a common sense thing. Money, that's an iffy thing, and I would go to think that maybe it was on the lower end, depending on the age range. When you're looking at a more mature woman, she's already in her career, she's doing her thing,
Mhm.
so maybe it's not a top priority. So maybe I shouldn't have said they're all lying,
Mhm.
but it's still a what I want to say, it's still a factor, because when I'm at a certain level in my career and I'm making a certain amount of money, um, it's going to be a determining factor if I'm talking to someone who's at that same level,
Mhm.
or if I'm willing to sacrifice and talk to someone who's making less than me for some of these other qualities.
That's a good point.
Hold
A
on,
lot of stuff affects stability.
but I think that the definition of liability is not universal. Any idea of I'm a 5'7", 128-pound dude, then if a chick don't know kung fu, then she's a liability because somebody got to protect us when we out. It's different in what somebody else brings to the table. And when you have a relationship, especially a long-term relationship, you realize that I want someone who fills in my gaps and completes me, or amplifies the things that I may be deficient in, because we don't need two people on this project. We need you managing these projects and I'm managing those projects. And then we just have a whole bunch of greatness because we've been able to spread our talents accordingly. But Shonda, you've been in a relationship for a long time. What's the difference in this relationship and a previous relationship in the idea of making sure that these attributes are assessed or that they're settled for?
What stands out for me is mostly stability,
Okay.
and that's just being, whether it's emotional, financial, whatever. It can cover so much.
The irony of it is when we look at, and obviously some of these words that we used in our assessment were basically culminations of things that became a theme, as opposed to the exact word that was used when the woman described what she was looking for. And
Mhm.
so, and the reason why it had to become a theme is so that way we can bunch it up to score it this way. But I can tell you this: if I had have heard the term, I did right here. So look at 40 number 7. Stability is in there specifically. So verbatim, she says stability, but that wasn't a word that came into the mind of these women. It's 50 number 2 says stability as well. But when you think about, and I know these are adjectives, and I don't want to get into a semantics argument, but think about the experiment in this way. I approach you and I say, hey, what are the top 5 things that you look for in a good man? I'm gonna keep qualifying good, right? Top 5 things you look for in a good man. Your mind goes to 5 things, boom, 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 real quick. Now you start fighting against your mind based off your experiences, but your mind then told you what you really want or what you really think you want. And for whatever reason, maybe society has told you it's not polite to ask for that. Maybe because it seems like when you get through this, and as
Yeah.
we go through this throughout this exercise, what you'll realize is the older the women got, the more some of these Christian themes and these stable things became resounding. But the younger the women were, it wasn't a lot of that. It was. I'll give you a great example for people who are listening to this. In the 20s, the women, we had 3 women in their 20s that provided their responses. 2 of them had respectful high on the list. One of them was ranked at number 2. One of them was ranked at number 3. And then when you get into the 30s, 3 women had respectful on their list. Once we got into the 40s, nobody was talking about respect. It was one person that had it number 4 on her top 5. So as you get older, do you just not want a dude to be respectful? Or do you, like Kendra said, think this stuff is a given? Because here's the situation. So honesty can't be a given if everybody's saying they want it.
Hold on.
Go
So
ahead, bro.
first of all, we can't say stability. We got to kind of throw that out
Okay.
because all 5 of them are what you think you need for a stable relationship.
Right.
So stability can't be a
So it's
thing that you
inferred.
say to, and
Absolutely.
yeah,
Right.
because like Shonda said, like some
Mm-hmm.
people need money, some people
Right.
need hugs, some people
Right.
need kids, some people
Right.
need
It's love
intelligence.
language type shit. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think that, so let's start with the what we'll do is talk about these women first and ask for your ability to help interpret, and then we'll talk about your own personal perspective on what you think is a good top 5 now today. We don't have to, because some of you have filled this out already or gave your feedback, and I won't disclose that, but it could have changed because time changes things, right? A perspective changes things.
Mm-hmm.
But in the 20, and so I'm just going to read these real quick. In the 20, number 1 said artistic, trustworthy, funny, protection, and pets. Okay. We consider her to be an absolute Looney Tune. This is her 5 things that make up a good man: artistic, trustworthy, the order of importance. Because, and the way that
Yeah.
that was discerned was what she said first was what came first to mind.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at psychological studies, the things that come to your head first are the things that you find prioritization in. So that's how I did this. Now, she would argue me if she had a chance to represent herself and fight after she knows more, because you do better when you know better, right? And a lot of women that we've talked to, or a few women that we've talked to, after they provided their information and then they saw this list, they wanted to go back and do some take backsies or some
Mhm.
do-overs. Oh, if I had thought about that, I would have said that too. Well, you said what you said. Be an adult, stick by what you said at that time when you was answering. Things may have changed, or now you know better because you see a better word. But the reality of it is, this is what men face when they meet you, is that
Mhm.
they can only go by what you say, not by what you mean, not by what you thought at that time. They just going by what came out your mouth or what you was giving them in your impression. So
Mhm.
20, number one, we had 3 women in the 20s. Like I said, number one said artistic, trustworthy, funny, protection, and pets. Number 2 and 3 had driven as their number one. Number 1 was driven. Number 2 had driven, God fearing, respectful, sensitive, and funny. Okay. Number 3 had driven, respectful, hardworking, God fearing, and communication. I'll tell you now the irony of these 2 women, and we don't know how close they were or where they were or anything, but all of them had God fearing, driven, and respectful in their top 5. For a young woman, when y'all was in y'all 20s, was God fearing, respectful, and driven as important to y'all?
No.
Oh, okay. You go there. Why not?
God fearing, I wasn't in that space at that time.
Okay.
I talked to guys who were um, clearly not into the church and didn't have a
Mm-hmm.
spirituality, none of that. So that, and it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't, and even though I was raised in the church, it
Mm-hmm.
just wasn't a deciding factor for me as far as in my 20s. Driven
Okay.
was,
Okay.
because at that point I was very driven. So I needed someone who was very driven.
Okay.
Respectful was not, because I could be honest, I hadn't experienced any disrespect.
Ooh,
Okay.
So I thought it was, I mean, once again, for me, it was kind of that was common sense. So at that point, I can honestly say I hadn't experienced anything I would call as major disrespect. I mean, in hindsight, when I look back on it, okay, yeah, I guess it was. But at that time, I didn't feel disrespected by any male that I was dating at that time.
So let me ask you this before we move to the next person. If you could go back to you in your 20s, what do
Hmm.
you think? And I know you're just guessing because it was a little while ago, a couple years ago.
hey, I
But
have questions after you too.
cool, no problem. What would have been your top 5 in your 20s? And remember, I'm going to ask you this for each stage, but in your 20s, what would have been your top 5 if you could just really think back to that?
Back to that point,
Yeah.
it definitely still would have been driven. It would
Okay.
have been family oriented.
Okay.
Mm,
Um, it would have been funny.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Okay.
Driven, family
I
oriented,
do. I
funny.
do because that's cool.
Um, and I'm gonna be real, because I'm
Yeah.
gonna keep it real,
Yeah.
just because in my 20s I was probably still a little naive to stuff. I don't see nothing on here about swag, and I know
Okay.
this is important.
okay.
Okay.
Ooh, thank you for saying that. So,
Uh-huh.
what out of the A,
Wait a
B, and
second. Those are only
B?
4. She only gave me 4. Give me
Oh, I
5.
gave you
Okay,
four.
okay.
Yeah.
And handsome.
Okay.
So, who do you think has the best list? B, C, or D?
Okay, speaking from a 40-something-year-old woman,
Hmm.
I say number 3 has the
Okay.
best
She's in post
list.
control. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
as
let's
a
let's just
40
remind the folks.
something.
Let's remind the folks. 20 number 3 was driven, respectful, hardworking, God fearing, and communication. So if you mentoring a 20-year-old woman, this
Mm-hmm.
is the one that you feel like is on her way to some sort of success.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
I agree.
All right. Who want to go? Okay, Shonda, you go
Oh,
second.
hold
What
on.
is
I
oh
got a couple
you got
questions for
something too?
Kendra.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. My fault. My fault, bro.
So you said God fearing wasn't on your list at that time. Is it
No.
now?
Yes.
Okay. Are you breaking up with this dude because he didn't have that in his 20s and you wanted him to gain it somewhere?
How old am I when you're asking me this question?
Your 20-year-old self versus today.
My 20-year-old self, if he was not God fearing,
Yeah.
She
I
didn't
would not
care.
break up with him.
Yeah, she didn't care.
I
Okay.
didn't break up with him.
Okay. But y'all got married and then now you're 40 something and he still don't have God fearing. Is that a deal breaker now?
Woo, I'd be surprised we even made it that long.
So this guy is supposed to evolve with your expectations,
Yes, we are to evolve with each other's expectations. Yes.
but you didn't even have these
Oh,
expectations
I
in your
did,
20s.
and I'm sure he has some too that I didn't meet. But yes, I'm expecting that. Even at the age of 40 something, I'm expecting that we evolve with our expectations. That's part
We
of growing. That's part of what they call growing together.
so he has to have these 5 during that time, but
Yes.
there's a secret 5 that he needs to have in the future that he don't
Yep.
even
That
know
I
about.
won't even know about, because you realize I didn't think even I would have never thought at 20 that at 47 God fearing would be at the top of my list. So if I don't know him, I can't communicate him to him.
Wow. Okay, so I'm glad you said a couple things. So you said you didn't experience that, and I think you said it too, Chris. I
Hmm.
have to say that like B came with PTSD. It's too many men that she met that didn't like her pets. So now it's on the top of her list.
Yes.
And I'm
Th-
glad. Go ahead.
I don't know if a small sample size could be considered PTSD because I feel like a woman, unless she been ran through in her 20s, ain't really had enough experiences in love
Yeah.
or in good men
Hmm.
to. I think she probably had 2 boyfriends that kind of liked her, and she realized that when they gone, the cats is still there. And so therefore it's a package deal. Like you meet hoes that's got kids, we a package deal. She doing this with her fur babies. And I think that's what she was like. Because when she started with artistic, do you know how crazy artists are?
Hmm.
Anybody that's
Yeah,
ever
yeah.
dated a fucking
It's
rapper,
men that
singer,
broke up with
dancer,
her
man,
because she's artistic.
right?
But
Uh,
I think you're mistaken. You get PTSD as a kid. It can come from dads, uncles, anybody.
Okay, I'll
mm-mm.
allow it. I'll allow it. But ain't no chance of her. Like of all that, we'll
You
see when
said
this
ain't
is
no
all said
chance.
and done. What these women's
I'm sorry, but
perspective
I
is.
know who that is, and I'm gonna
She,
check on her.
yeah, she has the less. She has the least chance. She has the least chance of all of it. But I'll let the women tell me better. But I thought the one that Kendra chose was a nice for what the sample size is. It was the best of the. It's lesser of the 3 evils, right? But
Yeah. Let me give
so
Kendra one more
okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
one more props.
Okay.
Okay.
You said looks, and nobody said looks.
Yeah.
In
And
your 20s, yeah, that was
I
yeah.
seen this damn pop the balloon show. Balloons be getting popped as soon as they walk out.
To not say looks is because you 20s.
Right.
You're
Yeah,
starting to think about who my baby daddy or
Yes.
husband is
Yes.
going to
Yes.
be,
good
what my
hair,
kids are going to look like.
Yeah.
light
Yeah.
eyes, good hair.
Amen. So I don't know why that was not on there, because at 20s, I know who I dated and I know exactly what I wanted my child to look like.
Mm.
I
And
think
I
we
didn't have
know. They
children
wasn't
with
being
him,
honest.
but I think about that, like, and I think about what was programmed in my head as I continue to
Here
date,
you go.
and
Program.
what my family was saying to me when I started bringing home the ones that they were scared I was going to have kids with. So thankfully, I satisfied all of our needs and had a handsome
Scared.
son. But I do know I dated some questionable people that my family looked at and said, don't have kids with this one.
They feared the ugly.
Yes,
Okay.
sir, because they were not attractive.
Uh,
Okay.
Physically. They were physically attractive. So
mm,
with that being said, Shonda, you
mm.
with the list, and just for the sake of keeping up with things, I'm gonna go through 1, 2, and 3 again. 1 was artistic, trustworthy, funny, protection, and pets. 2 was driven, God fearing, respectful, sensitive, and funny. And then 3 was driven, respectful, hardworking, God fearing, and communication. Which one do you feel like had the best chance? You a girl mom, you got 3 girls. Which one of these young ladies, 1, 2, or 3, do you feel like has the best chance of finding love in the time frame in which she would hope to?
3.
3. Okay, so you on that
Mm-hmm.
too. Okay. And then my question to you is, are you surprised that the 20-year-olds giving these answers, and do you believe them?
I believe them because 1 and 2.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna. I was gonna say because they silly, but they're they're young and they hadn't had a lot of experience. If you would ask me to give an answer based off of myself when I was in my 20s,
Mhm.
it probably it wouldn't be as so much similar to 1, but it would have been funny for sure.
Give me your top 5 from 20. Yeah, we was gonna do that
From
anyway.
my
Give me
with
your
my
top 5.
20
Yeah,
mindset,
20 mindset, 1
it
through
would
5 in order. Number
it would
1 gotta be.
Because where I came from, it would have
Yep,
been a
unashy
hustle.
elbows.
It would have been a
Unashy
hustler
elbows
because
is
I
number
came
one.
from the hood. It would have been a
Okay.
hustler because I came from the hood and I did
Hustler.
date
Okay.
dope
Okay.
boys. So that,
Okay.
well, funny.
Okay.
So number one,
Probably,
you said hustler, funny.
Yeah.
yeah,
Number
because
one,
I
driven.
came
We're
from
gonna
the
call it
hood. I
driven.
dated
We're gonna
dope
call it
boys.
driven.
They hustle all the
Let's
time.
just call it driven.
Yeah,
Let's
we'll
just
say
be
driven.
Okay,
We
let's call
like
it
to say
driven.
driven.
dope.
For the sake
Yeah.
of this platform, let's just call it driven. The second
Okay.
one was funny. What was your number 3?
um, I like guys that were outgoing. You know, that
Okay.
was very athletic
Okay. Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
because I was, and I was tomboyish, so I
Okay.
like those kind of guys. And that's look, it was short. That was probably it. Because remember, I had my first child in my 20s.
Okay.
So when I was 20, actually turned 20.
Okay. Okay.
So I was out of school not that very long and had a
But
kid.
you
So
hadn't given at that time, though. To be honest to you and fair to your young you hadn't given up on what a good guy makeup was. So at that time, a good guy makeup was driven,
mm,
funny, athletic, and family. What about family?
you wanted me to be honest.
You ain't give a damn.
My children, my children dad, we dated in the 11th, 10th, 11th grade.
He wasn't a good guy.
So
You knew he
I'm
wasn't a good guy when you was 20. You knew that. If you go back and talk to 20-year-old you, she'd be like, we know he ain't shit, right? Yeah, but what else we gonna do? Like, I'm
no,
talking about a
well,
good guy.
I'm being honest. To be honest, in my 20, it was not that bad.
Okay.
Because remember,
Okay.
I just got pregnant in my 20s. We were in school. So when you in
Mhm.
school, you don't live together. Everything
Mhm.
is always lovey dovey
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
until you move in together and get to know somebody.
Okay.
So I'm giving you my honest truth. In my 20s, the list would have been very short. Now,
Okay.
me now,
Not yet. Not yet. Not yet.
oh,
Not
okay.
yet. Not yet. Not yet.
Yeah, I have to go
Could
back and
I
talk
ask
to
what
that girl.
what the athletics was gonna do for you? You wanted someone who could run.
No, well, they
Fight
like
for
to
her love
do.
in the clubs.
I didn't want the nerdy guy. You know, that was all into books and all of that. I wanted somebody because our family we did a lot of things together. So I played football, flag football with my cousins, and basketball. I played basketball in school. So I
At
wanted
Fleming?
somebody that can get out when I was in school. So I
Okay.
wanted someone that could get out with me and do those things. I didn't want a guy that was like, I don't play sports, I don't watch sports, I don't do this. So the guys that I mostly dated, they either played basketball in school, football, or something like that.
I just
What
want
up,
you to know Ricky Baker was athletic.
man? What
Who
I
was
would
Ricky?
just tell her is that the producer has taught me over time 2 things can be true. And so, from an athletic book reader or nerdy kind of guy, you missed your opportunity, and I hope he's
I'm sure
happy.
I did.
Okay, cool.
I didn't
Yeah.
look. I didn't say I made the right choices. I
Got you.
just said with my 20-year-old,
I can respect that.
Damn.
18, 19.
I can
Yes.
respect that. All right, so you got any questions for her? Cuz?
That was my well, maybe let's expound on that a little bit. How long did he need this athleticism?
Man
Like, did he
down.
need this in 40 or the 50s? Like,
No. No,
no,
this is me
he
from
needs to be
school
athletic for a
to
little
my
while.
20s.
Huh?
I said that was my 20s. I just wanted a guy that, worked out. I didn't want no skinny, no guy. He had to have muscles. He had to be strong and tough.
Okay, okay.
So
I think
yeah.
we'll see muscles again, but okay. No, no, nothing further, Your Honor. Ricky Baker
From
is
the
the
movie.
dude who got shot in Boys in the
Was in the
Hood.
hood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with this though, and so the one thing is, I am surprised at the respect that you guys are affording to 20 number 3 for sure, because this concept, as I stated earlier, of driven dies when we get into the 30s, which we'll do now. It dies. We had 11 respondents in the 30-year range, women that was in their 30s, ladies that were in their 30s, and only one had driven, and it was her number 4 on the list. And so I'm not going to drain this list reading all these to you, but what I'll say is the themes are very, very inconsistent. Honesty came across, loyalty came across very heavy as top 1 or 2 on many of the list. But you also had some that I'll point out. Handsome showed up, 30 number 1. had handsome as her number 4. 30 number 3 had handsome as her number 5. So handsome did rear its ugly head, ironically, in in the 30s. But one of the things that didn't resonate very well in the 30s was, if you look at 33% of the 20s, one person had communication. 4 people of the 11 had communication in their 30s. Another thing that was in the 30s that stood out to me was no kids. So let's just, for the sake of understanding where we're going here, 30 number 8. I'm going to read the qualifications that 30 number 8 gave, and I want you ladies, in no particular order, to respond to what the hell she was thinking. And then I'll let the producer tell me which number he would like for us to expound on. But I definitely don't want to get out of here without 30 number 8 being. And I don't know the color of 30 number 8. We can make some inferences.
I do.
But okay, cool. All right. Let me say it first. Let me say it first.
I
Damn.
know the person.
Damn judgmental women.
No, I know the person.
Oh damn. Okay, cool.
Oh, wow.
All right, cool. Oh, wow.
I know the type.
Okay, cool.
No, I know the person. I know her.
Okay. So 30 number 8, these are her top 5 qualifications in a good man. Number 1, rock climber. Number 2, gluten free. Number 3, no kids. Number 4, non-controlling. And number 5, he needs to be a traveler. So, help me unpack that. And what's her chances of finding a good man?
Do y'all want? Okay, let me say this because I know this person and I
Okay.
know exactly what I know the reason she picked each and every one of those.
Okay.
Do you want everybody, the other two, to give their opinions and then I'll tell y'all what the real
Yeah,
truth?
let's do it like that. Shada, would you like to go? Because you've been around some crazy people. It's kind of hard not to understand. Can you give me top 5 things you think are qualifying a good man? Okay.
And you come out with rock
I think,
climber.
These people filling out dating apps. They filling out dating apps like this. So,
well, when I
So
saw it, I
when
just assumed
yeah,
she's one of those free spirited people.
like a hippie, like a modern hippie.
Yeah, because and hopefully she find exactly what she looking for.
so
So let me ask this
what's
though. Let me
crazy
ask
to
this.
me though,
Go ahead.
what's crazy to me is she wants someone non-controlling, but she's demanding that they be gluten-free. Their diet has to match hers, but she
That's
wants
just for a
somebody
matter
to
of
not.
convenience. I think that's a matter of convenience. My question to you, Shada, as a mature woman, is you got a daughter that's in her 30s. How do you steer this? Do you respect her determination of what a good man is? And if not, how do you steer her in a direction to where this one person, this is 0.008% of the male population that would be available to her. So how do you help her find love when she's made this a criteria that can't be met theoretically?
I have no idea.
Okay, all right, I respect
I'm
the
just
honesty.
staring at it. I'm just, that conversation would not be
Sometimes you
nice.
can't do nothing with it, right?
Yeah, you can't. You just like, well, baby. Like the old people say, well, baby, I'm just gonna pray for you and hopefully you find what you're looking for
Bless your
because
heart. Yeah.
it's hard.
So you, Harriet, tell me this one.
Hopefully,
Everybody can't go.
like Jazz said, she misunderstood the question. Hopefully,
That would be hard.
because
All right,
this
now
is
give us now
rough.
for the person who actually secured this response. I remember this now. Kendra, you secured this response on our behalf for the study's sake. So maybe you can color in
And I
and help us
appreciate you so
fit this
much.
into a real life scenario without, giving too much. But how did we even get to this person being in a functioning society?
Yeah, I lost sleep. I lost sleep over this. Please, details.
Can you rephrase the question? Because that's a whole lot.
So
Give it
what
to me
has happened
in
is it is
precisely.
my interpretation, and so maybe this is me just being too prejudiced or too biased. If a
Mm-hmm.
woman's in her 30s and
Mm-hmm.
she has an opinion on what a good man is, she
Mm-hmm.
has something going on in her life. She has
Mm-hmm.
a job, she has some type of education, she has
Mm-hmm.
people that care about her because she's actually being able to discern what a good man is and give feedback when asked. So
Mm-hmm.
all those things culminate in the fact that somebody asked her a legitimate, easy question. I'm not going to let y'all make it sound like this was confusing. Give me 5 characteristics that you think qualify a good man. And the first thing came out of her mouth,
Mm-hmm.
past her teeth, top and bottom, was
Mm-hmm.
rock climber.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing came out of her mouth, past her teeth, was gluten free. And then she went on to just keep saying stuff. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if I don't understand. I think I'm pretty articulate. I thought the question was straightforward. So help me understand the character that is this person that gave this little tune ass answer.
And please let
Okay.
us know if it could be indoor rock climbing or does it have to be
Man.
outdoor?
Yeah, it could be both. It could be
Oh, damn.
both.
Does
Um,
rock climbing counts as traveling because you're going up?
yeah,
Now go ahead, go.
no, no, you're doing both. I will say this: emotionally, she was not stable.
Okay.
So her responses were clearly based off her triggers of what she had been through in her past life. So for her, she did understand the assignment. For her, this is what makes a good man for her.
Yeah, because I think that
But
I
this is
do
the thing: none of us had be
I think
abusive on you.
non-abusive. I think table stakes. Yeah,
I
yeah,
no,
table
no,
stakes.
no, he
Yeah,
can't be her senseless because
yeah,
that's why she had non-controlling on here.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So she did just like we did, where like she looked at what she had been through in her life
yeah.
and said, "This is what I know I need to be able to wake up every morning and be with this man."
Mm-hmm.
Rock climbing, she was dead ass serious because I
Okay.
asked her.
Okay.
This
Okay.
this is her path. This is her life. She
So
was dead ass serious. Now, and I will go on to say she actually met somebody who had all of these things
Uh-huh.
except the no kids. And I understood why she said the no kids, considering she had kids. And I'm like, why would you
Wait,
want
wait,
somebody?
wait. She has kids and
wait a
she,
Yes,
minute.
they can't have any?
What? So
yes, she
let
could
me.
not. And let me explain why she said, because at that point, me and her both were talking to males who had children.
Mhm.
And I asked her, and I said, "Well, that don't make sense. That doesn't make sense to me." One, she did not want to deal with a crazy baby mama.
Okay.
Two, she was like, our schedules. And I was like, wow. So he had his kids on one weekend. She had her kids on the opposite weekend. It made it hard for them to kind of date because they had their kids. So it would have been different maybe if they were able, because to the point, she was even like, hey, one of us has got to work with the other co-parent to figure out if they can switch their schedules so that
Yeah.
that way they could have a weekend together, and then the other weekend they both go their respective ways with their respective kids.
Mhm.
I was like, wow, because she's like, look at you. You can't even see the guy you talking to because he constantly has his daughter. And that guy couldn't come to my house because I have a son.
Mhm.
So we struggled and ultimately did not make it work because we were both single
Other
parents,
responsibilities, correct.
but we had other responsibilities.
Correct.
Correct. So I will say this: I don't talk to her anymore, but I do know
Thank
before
God.
I talked to we quit talking. She did meet a guy that had 4 out of those 5 qualities.
That's what's up. And once again, there's
So
somebody for
hold on,
everybody.
Chris. Before you get
Go ahead.
started,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
so would it made a difference if she had chosen different words? So instead
No.
of saying rock climber,
Maybe
adventurous, or
athletic.
Mm-mm.
healthy lifestyle instead of
Mm-mm.
gluten free, then maybe we wouldn't just looked at it the way we
Mm-hmm.
did.
I think one of the things that we have
True.
to come to terms with is you don't have to convert me or convert this panel or convert anybody in your family or whatever the case may be. The maturity comes when you know what, and this is what you hear about old women. Old women know what they want, and they ain't about all that bullshit, and they ain't about all that explaining. They know what they want, and they gonna call
Mhm.
it like it is. She had an old soul in her 30s to realize that she knew what she wanted. I do have a
Mhm.
question that I'm gonna let Shonda go in her assessment, or let y'all kind of I want to get through the 30s first before I introduce this concept of baggage. But I do realize that that's a prevalent theme in her assessment of what she wanted because she knew exactly what she didn't want from previous experiences. And what I'm hearing in y'all commentary thus far, I wrote down, it's a lot of reflective dynamics that added to
Yeah.
the depiction of what you think is a good man going forward. And I want to help understand the math behind that. So did you have which one did you want to because which one did you want to go to in this that we could read off? Or did you have anything else to say about 30 number 8?
Oh, I got plenty to say, but I won't waste y'all time.
Okay.
So it's to me,
Uh-huh.
the no kids and the
Mhm.
non-controlling, I
Mhm.
don't think she has the things that she's asking from another person.
Agree. I
I-
totally agree. And I said that to her because you made a very good point. You say you want someone who's non-controlling, but she was adamant that they had to be gluten free. So I asked her why, and she said, "I'm not cooking two different things. I'm not
yep,
cooking two
yep,
different ways.
efficient.
My kids are used to
Yeah,
this, so we have this blended family,
right.
and his
Mm.
kids eat junk food.
Yeah,
This is not going to work for
she was
us."
smart. She was crazy
Yeah,
than a
and now
motherfucker,
I'm
but she
No,
was
looking
no,
at her
smart.
she's
different. I'm
insane.
I
like,
She's
love her
insane.
that's
rationality.
No,
not
Yeah.
no, you
better.
cook two different meals for people you love. You do that.
She know what
Let me
she
let,
want.
let me ask a
You,
question before we go further. Have you ever been in a household, sir, where somebody didn't want to cook two different meals?
oh, absolutely. But have
Hey,
I cooked? But have I cooked two or three different meals? Absolutely.
Mm.
and you're still with that person?
No.
Yeah, that shit was exhausting. So what I'm gonna say is,
Hey, don't tell my mama this one.
It's because we didn't compromise. But yeah, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
what I'm what I'm going to say is this, and I was trying to stay away from this, but I think it's important to the broader audience. When I was in my 30s, I had dated someone who had a kid, and because of that experience, as you stated, with the time and the schedules coordinating, and then the other people involved and all this other stuff. Once I was out of that relationship, I told myself, I have enough other things going on that I don't want that in the future. I don't want to date somebody with children. And so therefore, that was a disqualifier for me because I had done it twice. It hadn't worked out. And I don't think it was the kid's fault for sure. But I thought there would be more time for this relationship to flourish and us to nurture each other if she didn't have that responsibility. I want to call it distraction, but that responsibility. So it
Mhm.
was something that I had a kid. So in the idea of I can't always give it can always be one for one. It has to be okay, she has to have something that I want or something that I don't want. And in turn, I have to have something that she doesn't want. You know what I mean? So she might have said, you know what? I don't have any kids, but I'm not going to date anybody to smoke weed or have a criminal record. Or I'm not going to, you know what I'm saying? That type of stuff. So he might have a kid. Or one of the things she did say, in fact, when I started dating a woman that didn't have no kids was, I'm not going to date anybody who doesn't have an active participatory relationship with their children. Like if you're not
That's good.
actively involved in your kids, you
Facts.
can't say nothing to me.
That
So it wasn't
that's
Facts.
okay to
it
me.
wasn't
That
just no
plays into
kids
your
and no kids. It was
Hmm.
okay. I don't care about a dude that's got kids because that's how we grew up. That's what I'm used to. But I'd
Yeah.
be damned if I'm gonna have a deadbeat.
Right.
And that was her qualifier to which I, met the criteria. So in that regard, I do understand it can't be I don't want no kids because I don't have no kids. Sometimes it's I've done that and I see the perils of that or the difficulty I'm adding to it. It's kind of like being in an interracial relationship. It's a lot to go in. It's a lot more than just being with a chick. It's a lot of hurdles and hoops and all these other things you have to qualify and contemplate in your mind, and it only adds stress to the relationship. Now you don't know if you with her to prove a point or if you with her because you love her ass. Like, and you can get caught up in that, you know what I'm saying, trying to prove something in those regards. So that's what I wanted to say about that as a criteria. Ironically, she was cuckoo crazy, 30 number 8 before I started talking to you ladies. But now that we've unpacked it, I
Hmm.
see where she was trying to go. I think she was just a little dogmatic and
she had
overly
PTSD.
prescriptive
Yeah.
with exactly what had to happen, and that's why her journey would be a little more difficult to find those things. But if she was able to compromise one off the list, I think that also she at least knew what she wanted, and that's what I've always been told by women: is an old woman know what the hell she wants.
So Kendra, do you know if she was willing to have a kid for
Yes,
the
I was
guy?
just about to add that they
Okay.
were talking, and she was willing to have they were willing to have a child together.
Not as crazy. Okay.
Yeah, so that's the thing. It's just when she made the comment about the scheduling, and then she put it back on me. I was like, well, damn, she got a point because I was at the point where I'm like, well, I only want to date men who have children,
Mhm.
um, and have had children. But then she was right. I struggled with the single father who had, problems getting his schedule together the same way I had problems, not having a lot of free time. So it just wasn't working. So she actually helped me reevaluate. Like Chris said, it wasn't so much that they had kids, but what age range were their kids now? And
Yeah.
how active were they with their kids and what was that? So I had to really kind of reevaluate how I dealt with guys I met who had children. Can I play devil's advocate on that?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that the whole thing that we're talking about? That men don't because we're so vague about our description
Right.
that
Mm-hmm.
they can't
Mm-hmm.
be what we need them to be. So the
Mm-hmm.
fact that she was that rigid, a
Mm-hmm.
guy who's not a rock climber, and a matter of fact, I know a guy that was trying
A
to date
para,
her,
a
he did
parasailer.
not rock climb, and he was just like, I don't get it. She was so
Yeah.
definitive she was not going to settle. Now yeah,
Right.
that makes her journey harder,
Harder.
but then that
But the
also
destination is more
lets a
satisfactory.
Yeah.
man, it's
Mm.
one thing
Absolutely.
for a man to be adventurous. He
Mm-hmm.
could be like, yeah, I'll go zip line, I'll jump out of planes, but if he ain't a rock climber she wasn't feeling him.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
at least a dude knows, like, he knows what he's getting with her, crazy
Yeah.
not whatever.
Yeah.
So
Oh, it's
where with
definitely
me
crazy.
he gonna be
What kind
like,
of crazy?
well, you said adventurous, Kendra.
Mm.
So let me clarify. Let me clarify. It wasn't that it was so much as one word. It was the top 5 qualities. And some women,
Yep.
and I wish I could pull this up. I think you might still have some, bro, that you had screenshot me or whatever. But the moral of the story is, even though I gave them the assignment to keep it brief, they didn't keep it brief. I had this. The reason why it was
Oh
condensed into
yeah.
these particular themes was for the sake of this spreadsheet and spitting out some type of algorithm. But a lot of women wrote books, and it was it was more than what I needed for the assignment, because to me, and maybe I'm just too articulate in the fact that when you're of a certain age, and I'm in my 40s at this time when we do this, and I kind of knew what I had been looking for based off of trial and error and all these other things that most of us have been exposed to. I realized these are the things I need more than anything else. Boom, 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 boom. And so it wasn't a whole bunch of explaining behind it. It was simply this, simply that, simply this. Now that evolves, as we all spoke about, as you get older. But the concept of now I'm not 20s, I give a lot of latitude to, because you in your 20s, who gives a fuck? 30s, now you starting to settle in and really make determinations of is if it is or is it ain't at this point in time. And so I was a little more, had a little more eyebrow raised up on the 30s. And then when I got to the 40s, you really at a point, and I'm gonna say this, and you piss off the Pope. You at a point where your pickiness needs to really be reflective on these top 5s. And I didn't see a lot of adjustments in picky that translated from 30 to 40 that I thought I would. So it stunned me when I got to the 40s and they still asking for all these high profile type things. They're like, you in your 40s. What is we talking about? So, but that's the case. So what did you have, bro, which one did you want to go to while we're still in 30s before we move on?
Okay, so at this point, it seems like they think that the guy should be driven in his 20s and he should be there in his 30s. So maybe that's why it's
I
not there.
think that a lot of that
But
is I shouldn't.
Correct.
Yeah, he should have arrived with some destination in mind, or because
mhm.
I think you grind him because you're trying to figure yourself out in your 20s. I'm just thinking like this. But then by the time you get to your 30s, you have somewhat of a North Star. Now you might not be there and you might be en route, but at least you telling me,
He's
I see
driving.
this home, I see this
Mm-hmm.
land, I see this business, I see
Yeah,
this education dynamic. Because by the
yeah.
time you're in your 30s, you either done went to your, if you haven't got your bachelor's already, or if you haven't gotten this and that, you really don't have a priority on that. Like your priorities start to come clear by the time you in your 30s as to what am I gonna do and who am I gonna do it with.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I want to start with Shonda though. So,
Okay.
which one of the 30s you think is the top one?
Okay, cool. I like
Ooh.
that.
Mm.
Um,
And Kendra, be thinking about it because that's the
Ooh.
one I want to dive into.
Okay.
Because we're trying to figure out which one is closest to what we want to advise people on.
Right.
I'm
Oh Lord.
looking through them, and it's always one that's off in there that you be like, eh.
Me too.
Now,
I
Keep in
agree.
mind, you a girl mama, your girl's gonna be 30 one day. Which one of these young ladies at least got close to what you would want your young lady to have in her mindset when she's in her
mhm.
30s?
Who would you pick as her mentor just based
Yeah.
off of these?
Yeah.
Ooh, this hard.
Probably gonna be number 11.
Okay. So 30 number 11 for the audience is number
Mm.
1, God fearing. That was her first quality in a good man. Number 2, honest. Number 3, communication. Number 4, hardworking.
Mm-hmm.
And number 5, empathic.
Somebody said, mm-hmm, on their hard working.
Yeah, man. Good
They
Lord.
don't want no. They didn't want no lazy.
Learn to crawl, huh? Touch the
Yeah,
crawl.
sorry.
But
That
so
sound like
empathic.
no PS5.
Right. So okay, cool. Now let me ask you this, Shonda, because he asked you, what was the things that stood out in that made you choose number 11 over the other 10 candidates?
Number 10 next to it is not bad. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's just the wording of
Mm-hmm.
some of them can mean the
Yep,
same, so
I
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
agree
like,
too.
Because women want it
you
all.
know,
Y'all understand what y'all saying? Okay, but go back
yes.
to what was
Yep,
the
yep.
other? What was the thing that number 11
Voltron.
that stood out? If you did, because obviously, if based
God
on
fearing,
this, you could say
communication,
all of them,
hard working.
all
Yeah.
50 answers, right? But what was it? It was the God fearing.
Yep, the God fearing. And yeah.
And so
Okay.
what did we establish as a baseline earlier was for a 40-year-old woman, when you look back in your 20s, God fearing was not one of your priorities. Obviously, as you've gotten older and got closer to days being behind you as opposed to ahead of you, God fearing becomes important. For her to be in her 30s and the only one in her 30s to have God fearing as her first thing. Now, she wasn't one of the only ones to have honest as one of her tops. She wasn't one of the ones that have communication in her top 3 or 4, but she had God fearing up there, and that stood out to you. Is that something that you actively, and I know I'm getting personal and getting vulnerable, is that something that you actively teach to your girls now in their 20s?
Mm.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm.
How's that lesson
Good.
going?
That's
It
good.
ain't because of their 20s.
Okay.
They not listening.
Okay.
But you planting
Why
the
explain the
seed.
game? Niggas ain't listening.
I think planting that seed is
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
important. But yeah,
Okay.
they in their 20s and you know,
Yeah. Right.
Okay,
they not
so
listening.
what does God fearing mean to you?
Oh.
Mm. Mm. You
Anybody?
got
I
to,
want,
yeah, who you
yeah,
asking
that's
this?
deep. I want I want my kids to, and for me, I need somebody that can pray with me, pray for me.
Okay.
We pray
Yes.
for each other.
Okay.
Hmm.
We see the same. Like me and my husband, we pray for each other. He prays for me. I don't know because I'm going through all
I
these
know.
changes.
I know.
But yeah,
Because I've known you
and
for
I
years.
love that about him.
Mhm.
Like you
I'm sorry, I thought I was on mute.
know. So yeah, that means a lot to me, and I want to, I want them to understand if they have, because I call my kids, I send them prayers and things like that, but I also want them to know it's important when you got somebody with you in a relationship that can pray for you,
Mhm.
that can see, you going through something, y'all can pray together. So, but right now, like, they in their 20s and it's
Mhm.
coming from mama.
Mhm.
It's coming from dad, but they don't see the importance of having somebody, that you're in a relationship that you can do that together and the
Understand.
benefits from it. So,
Okay. Any other expounding on God fearing?
I think for me, it's the fact that you understand that there is something bigger than me and you in this
Mm-hmm.
relationship. So I need to know that you're consulting with a higher power on the best decisions for us in this relationship, especially if you're expecting me to be submissive.
Oh, that's nice.
Correct.
So
Correct.
would y'all think differently of a guy who says I'm God realized, not God fearing?
You-
So let me say this, just for the audience and for everybody on the call in this regard. Um, when I see God fearing, what I interpret it as and how I apply it for me is someone who's humble. And like you said, there's a bigger power that's bigger than you, is bigger than us. And so that's a line of humility. It also implies a level of tradition or programming. Now we can have another pod about that at another time, but
Mm-hmm.
they've at least
Mm-hmm.
subscribed to a
Please.
family tradition or some type of
Yep.
family dynamic or a team
Yep.
perspective, right? Even if their family didn't go to church, they end up going to church or they started reading something that's one of the biggest groups or subsets of people on planet Earth. And so they believe in something that they've been able to create a community to align themselves with, which was there's a strength in numbers. And so that part is important. But also, I think the cheap part about it is the Bible, as contradictory as it is a baseline that creates a common language that we can all understand, whether it be the commandments, which we'll do a pod on that, ratifying or amending the commandments to fit now. But the idea of it is you at least have something that you abide by psychologically, emotionally, that you can turn to as an anchor. And therefore, we both can then have that as a baseline when things go good or bad. We can praise him and we can beg him for forgiveness and questions as we move forward. So the God fearing part is really, are we connected on the same wavelength? Because if you look at relationships of people who are in different religious backgrounds and beliefs, those are very different. Once again, it's like interracial or anything else, or same sex or whatever. Sometimes you allow yourself to align with a relationship that has so many more qualifications and outside noise and all this other distractions that it makes the love very hard. I know people feel like love can conquer everything, but don't make it hard to love them. Like that makes it more difficult. So when I think of God fearing, you want to know, hey, are you familiar with the holy book? You familiar with the mercy and the grace? Are you familiar? And then somebody said it earlier, and I think it might have been Shonda, where where I can expose you and grow you into this. So maybe in my 20s, I wasn't on my God game, but I always knew I was gonna get there, God willing, pun intended. And so by the time we got to our 30s and 40s, we was gonna be sitting in somebody's church, we was gonna get married in somebody's church, we was gonna dabble in some church stuff, and then we kind of come into that awakening together because you young, you smoking, drinking, and chilling with this chick, but you got to realize y'all gonna have to retire that jersey at some point. We can't be 44 smoking, drinking, and chilling still, because that's just irresponsible and not part of hopefully God's plan. And so when it comes to a guy, thinking that when a woman says God fearing to a guy, what a guy thinks is not that I go to church every day or I'm the deacon or that I'm, master of all the tithes, but that I understand where I am in this world and how God has affected my life and how I would turn to God, to help guide my life, because the Bible gives you so many lessons that should create stability if you abide by them. Now, I'm saying that and I'm going to end with this. We all know nobody abides by the Bible. They pick and choose whatever the hell they want to do and they make it up as they go along because it's been there forever. Their whole life. The Bible been the same my whole life. Now they got all these different versions, but if you go to King James, it's been the exact same my whole life. So either I got the lessons or I didn't. You know what I mean? And you hope that grandma and them praying and all the prayer warriors, like Shonda was saying, they hoping that it just hits you when it need to, right? But that's the God-fearing aspect from a male perspective. But I appreciate y'all, aspect of it as well, because that honestly is one of the most confusing things that
Yeah.
men come across is the religious dynamic, because religion comes with social constraints, roles and responsibilities, and all. It's certain religions where your woman can't work and you can have more than one wife and all this other stuff. So it just becomes very convoluted when you put that in there. So she made that a top priority. She has to make sure that her God and his God is the same God, because Baptist, Methodist, Episcopalian, those type of things have different nuances to where it could be even different what you wear to church, the Kojics and all this other stuff, right? So it's not as simple as that. But I like the fact that once again she was willing to ask for what she wanted. Okay.
Okay.
This concludes another episode of the Hollow Points Podcast, where we act as your therapeutic outlet on topics many think about but are afraid to speak on.
Oh, you're welcome.